Welcome to the AEC Groundbreaking Growth Podcast,
hosted by Stan Boness. Welcome to another episode of Groundbreaking Growth. I'm your host, Emily, here with co-host Jen Knox.
And we have an amazing guest on the line today. We have Bolanle Williams-Olley, who is actually CFO of Mancini Duffy. They are an architectural firm based in New York. And Bola, I wonder if you could start off by giving us a little bit of an example of what a day in the life of you looks like and some history on Mancini Duffy.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here chatting. I love chatting about my work and my firm, Mancini. So I'm really excited to be here. Really quickly, Mancini is actually 100-year-old plus. We are 109 this year.
Oh, cool.
We're pretty well established architecture interior design firm based in New York City. Clearly, from my voice, I am not 100 years old. Myself and my four other partners are in what I would like to call our own legacy building years, right? So we have and are owners of this firm that has a rich legacy and now are in our own years of defining the future and what we want Mancini to be and to be known for. And so we serve a variety of clients using a tech-forward approach in how we design projects, how we deliver projects to our clients, how we carry them along the process. We have something called our 360 design process, and we like to say, what would take us maybe in the past 3 weeks to complete, we're able to do in 3 hours in VR. We have a patent-approved software. We're very proud of that. That connects our VR model to the architect's, application they're using to design, so Revit. And we bring our clients and key decision makers into the system very early on. From the design process, and they're able to walk their space, make real-time decisions that are go straight into the architect's application. So nothing is redone. And so it's been really exciting over the last few years to see this process unfold and how it has helped shape how we think. A day in my life. Let's take today. I have spent, a good part of today, solving issues and solving problems. For example, I have to close out our benefits renewal. How about that? So a lot of thinking about our employees, thinking about our firm, thinking about making sure that we are providing the best, what I call it, offer for our people. And I'm really going to bat and fighting with our vendors on that. So that's one huge task in my day to day. Outside of that, though, it's a lot of supporting our firm from a financial perspective, of course, supporting our project managers and our studio leaders as they are navigating their projects on the design side. But how do they really think about relying on their finance and accounting team for numbers that can help inform the decisions they're making, be it on staffing, be it on invoicing. So we are now speaking on, I believe this is April 4th, right? We're doing billings, right? So how are we getting our billings out on time?
March billings,
right? All of that awesome stuff. A lot of that support, right? Really integrating the accounting and finance team and seeing us as a true partner rather than this separate department from project world live team is something I'm really passionate about. And also, again, always thinking about our financial goals, vision, and making sure that we are on track with
Mhm.
with the big ideas, big growth plans that we have.
Yeah.
And excuse me, taking very calculated risks
Yeah. Yeah.
as we are marching forward towards that. So that's, a kind of colorful
Yeah.
about what keeps me up during the day and night
Yeah.
when it
Well,
comes to running
I love how you kind of framed going to bat for the employees, right? And you're there kind of as that integral partner and support system for kind of project delivery. I think, right, as an engineer, sometimes we forget that it is a whole team sport and it takes, right, the full kind of corporate staff to ensure that we can deliver for the clients. So I love that perspective, and it's good to remind our listeners and some of those emerging leaders that it definitely is a team sport and takes so many different functions to get these projects out the door and be successful.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have so many different responsibilities and things that you are in charge of and taking care of every day. What is something that the rest of the firm might not realize about your role?
Exactly what you've just said. How much how much goes into making sure everything is run smoothly. And so let me just I'll zoom out for a second from the detail I gave, right? So outside of the obvious finance, some of the other things that come under my purview, HR, IT, legal stuff, think about proposals, right? And like talking with our lawyers and making sure all of those things are handled properly, right? So they're taking care of it on the teams, but there's a lot also that comes under my purview, making sure that from a compliance perspective, that we are doing things appropriately and protective of our employees too, right? So a lot of all those different areas are things that I do. Let me think about one good example. I'll give an example from a few years ago, a mother's room, right? And thinking about providing a mother/family room, let me put it that way, in our office, in our old space. And I remember, at that time, it was my 3 male partners and myself. And they were going to put this mother's room, I don't know, like on the floor. I was like, a new mom doesn't want to be pumping and feel like her colleagues can hear her, right?
Yeah.
And so like, these are some of the conversations that happen in closed doors where I'm like, guys, let's move this away. She would just
yes.
private space. So like, that's something that, our employees might not think, oh, the CFO is thinking about or firm leader is thinking about, but yeah, that's something that I think about. And, we have a beautiful space now in our new office and a very private location for new moms. So yeah, that's something I do. Operations, right? So like that falls under office operations. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. And that speaks so much to, we all have perspectives and should speak up and bring things to the table when we have an idea that needs to be considered, right? And we feel passionate.
Yep. Yes.
So you have talked a lot about understanding and sort of leveraging these different leadership seasons and your background and right, like being a mother, and then some of your background. I wonder if you can provide some of that about your career journey and what you feel are some of those pivotal moments and seasons throughout your leadership journey.
Yeah. This is something I think I love to share and talk about. And that's why, I'm happy to be on here and connecting with you guys and your listenership. Because everybody's journey is very unique. I believe and strongly believe that everyone's a leader, right? So, but the first person you lead is yourself. let's you might not necessarily have the title, or maybe it's not your path, right? Maybe you're like, I don't want to be this titled person, but in reality, in different points of our lives, we all have to lead ourselves, right? It's either you're leading yourself, Are you honoring the decisions that you have said or the goals that you've said you want to achieve in your life? It comes from leadership. You have to kind of help yourself go along the path. And so but just to quickly go back to, my own journey and think about moments where opportunity opened for me. One of the key things I would say was that I was so open to staying curious about learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're starting out in your career, there's a different season that you're in. A lot of times, if you're just new in the career or you're about to shift, you're an emerging leader, it's a season of learning, right? And so are you open to learning? Are you learning from your peers? Are you learning from, a possible maybe mentor or someone you've identified in your firm that you can reach out to, speak up to, share your thoughts, learn something from, or connecting with professional organizations, right? So you have to be open to learning. And so for me, I'll just go again. I love to give examples, right? So people know I have been through the trenches. So, I started my career in 2007. 2008 was a financial crisis. I could have just buried my head in the sand. But in that moment, I approached our CFO, my then CFO at the firm I worked at, and said, hey, listen, I'm open to learning. I've been working, at the company for a year. Can you invest in me? Can you pour into me? I could have just stayed in department and done my stuff. I think he probably was like, who's this? This sounds a little bit. But he took a chance on me and said yes. And a lot of the training, a lot of the knowledge, a lot of the way I think through problems came from that time, right? A time of uncertainty, a time of not really knowing what was going to happen, but I learned so much, right? So fast forward to me now being a first-time CFO, leading a company through a global economic crisis during COVID, right? I had to be open to learning from my peers. I connected with an organization I'm part of called the CFO Leadership Council, learning from other CFOs, right? Knowing that, okay, I wasn't completely going off track or off path, but I wasn't alone, right? So think about, I'll summarize this by saying, think about what season you are in your career path. And what is it that you need at that moment? Is it learning? Is it for you to teach someone, right? Because as you learn, you also have to pour, right? So you're pouring and be ready for those, you're also preparing for opportunities that will come your way. They will come, right? Because you have the track record, you've done exceedingly well, you've set yourself apart as a technical expert. So that opportunity to lead will come. And so are you ready when that opportunity comes? But you first have to have been leading yourself to get to that point.
Yeah, I love that. And what kind of resonated with me when you're saying that is how you leveraged learning through different communities, maybe, right? You talked about that CFO roundtable or that group, and really leveraging the community around you. So kind of our listeners being those emerging leaders and thinking about community and how to best leverage it, for your own growth and support, but also give back to it, right? That's what you were saying about that pouring in. Kind of how do you view community as part of your leadership journey?
The strides that I've seen in my path would not have, well, let me not say would not have, they might have happened maybe just a little later, but community and that power of community, be it my friend group, my friendship group, right? That's community, right? Sometimes we might not think about it that way, but that's community. To a more structured setting, which is a, professional organization, that's community. It plays such a huge role in giving you the confidence boost that you need to figuring out paths, making sure that you also know you are not alone. It can feel very lonely when you think about our industry, so technical. You're almost like, am I doing things the right way? Am I not? It can feel a little lonely. And there's something about plugging into community, again, having a space where you can share your thoughts, share your ideas, learn, right? Like the technical side, the interpersonal side, right? Like dealing with relationships and people, because I think that's like 80% of our work. We can all do the work. It's more about like relating with people, right? All of that comes if you're able to plug into community early, right? So I know there are people who are, maybe you're a little shy, maybe you're not really good in like those social settings. It doesn't matter. Just go. You will find a way, in your own unique way of communicating, to connect with people in that community. It is only for your benefit. There's no disservice done by trying or testing out being a part of a community.
Yeah.
And I think too, one of the things that within your journey that's so inspiring is how much you have, raised your hand and said, I want the opportunity, I will learn. And then sort of embrace that as an opportunity to jump in and build a community around you. But I also think that as a younger leader and a younger professional, it can be really intimidating to do that. And I think one of the misconceptions, especially as a younger person, that's sort of being thrust into a position that they're not expected to know every single thing. Like some of it does come with experience. And I think really good leaders, when they're putting a young professional into that situation, they don't expect that. And I think that's a misconception. They expect you to take ownership of your learning, but not necessarily that you're supposed to know every single thing about every single thing. You will do some learning on the job, and that's expected.
I 100% agree with that. And I think, just based on what you shared, there's a lot of onus on the leaders and what kind of space and environment are you creating, where if you are elevating, and we should be elevating younger folks who are early in their careers, or people that you've identified have something, or that they're on the right path, or they just need that next step in their professional development. We should be fostering a space where they know it is you are not expected to know it all. They should not be questioning or feeling that pressure. We all already have that pressure on ourselves, regardless. It doesn't matter your level. We all kind of put that pressure. But there's some onus on us as leaders to say, hey, listen, it's okay. Right? The faster we can either get through something that you don't know, you now experience it, you get to work on a particular project that you've never seen. That's immediate experience you're building. But if you come into that role and you're acting like you know it all and you don't need any help, then that's where there are issues. But it's not just on the emerging leader, it's on the seasoned leader to make sure that they're also doing that work, that you've not just thrusted someone on your team and put them in a position to fail. What have we done to make sure that they're successful, right? It doesn't mean they won't make mistakes earlier on, but they know that, let's make the mistake and let's, it's more about what are we doing to fix forward. And you as the person on the team navigating your own path, okay, not to do this again. Now you know what not to do, either whatever on a project, whatever it is. But I like to put some ownership on the leaders also.
Thank you so much.
Environment.
Emily's like, yes, it's all about that safe space that you're creating. And if it is conducive to learning and development and saying, I have a question about this, or I don't fully understand. Can you explain it to me? Or I have a new idea, or could we look at it doing it this way? That is really very a cultural, component of how your firm is run, and you need to intentionally build that.
Yes. Now, if you ask after the 10th time, then that's a different case.
There's a level of resourcefulness that
so you're like, listen, we're in the technology age. We can let's get to it. But yes, just it has to be a two-way street and creating that space. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for saying that and sharing that insight from a leader. I love that. And it sounds really like in your journey, this leadership and sort of this continuous learning seems to be such a career key part of your career path. And I want to know like how you have leveraged. We also talk a lot about passion and learning and that sort of being a guiding light in people's careers. They make choices. But how have you leveraged that passion for learning outside of just a career path? And I know you do a lot of work with nonprofit and have this real passion for education as well. And I wonder if you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. Like one of the, I think, core pillars of my life is service, right? And what that means to me is, as you know, and as you have opportunity to give back, I'm actually doing that, right? And so I guess I'm a lifelong learner, but then I'm also always thinking about what are people learning? How can I create resources? Or, for example, through my nonprofit that's called She Builds Lives, how can I give back to Nigeria, where I was born and raised and lived up until the age of 17? How can I give back to children that are in disadvantaged communities? How can I provide better quality education or improve the access to education that they're receiving there? And so my nonprofit now is 11 years old. Wow. Thank you so much.
Claps.
Nonprofit is 11 years old, and we just do really important work. One of our flagship projects is called Project Tutored. We teach children in these communities a skill, 2 to 3 skills, and then also do academic intervention. We have a school on a floating community. It's all on water. I like to give some context. So let's just quickly go back to COVID, when all of in America, for example, where all the kids, or most kids, let me not say all, when we all went remote and the kids could have access to school through internet, right? Wi-Fi, you could log in. In this particular community, there's, first of all, no electricity, like no 24 hours power. And also there's no internet, there's no Wi-Fi and all of that. So we had to think about how do we deliver education during this period where we didn't know when the kids would be able to come back to school. We ended up buying radios because the state was broadcasting lessons, like math and English lessons, math, English, science, I believe, lessons through the radio, right? And so we bought radios for every child. They attended school for free. We bought radios for every child, as well as provided some, rice so that they could have some food at home. And these kids were listening to lessons at home, through radio. So something like that just makes me want to continue to give, help serve, bring more awareness to the situations for children over here, right? I'm here in the States. I have access to an amazing AEC community, right? Like, I mean, why wouldn't you want to help? Why wouldn't you want to help me, deliver, deliver however little we can. That goes a really long way there. And then really quickly also, I started 2 other organizations, one called She Builds Waves. When I became a leader, how do I create space for other women within the industry, regardless of department, to connect, come together, talk? How do you share resources that helps them during their career path and journey? And then She Builds Money. I created for small firm owners, breaking down financial concepts really easy. I call it KISS, keep it so simple, ways so that it can run financially successful firms, right? So I created a couple of resources that they could use, free resources that they could use to help them navigate their finances and just make them feel more empowered, right? So again, these are things that I've learned, right, along my journey. I became a leader. How do I help others on their path? I have now 17 years of experience in finance within the industry. How can I create something that can help others coming up. So that's where, passion outside of my very important and busy role, like these are like things that I've done just to help others along the way.
Yeah. And it sounds like, right, when we're giving back in that way, yes, we are pouring out to others, but oftentimes that fills our cup, right? Like mentally, like those are the things that like sustain us. And, it's that full circle kind of moment where we're able to pass it on. But it's also just an amazing thing to do for that community and for yourself.
Yes. I think it's finding some outlet, be it one person, it could be your coworker who you connect with, right? Because not everyone has that calling to go set up an initiative and do all of that. It just happens to be mine, but not everybody has that, right? It doesn't mean though that you don't have a way to pour back or give out, or that your way, anyway, we all define, none is less important than the other, right? So again, it could be one person, it could be one child, it could be you're licensed and you want to help somebody during their licensure path. It could be anything, right? Or you want to help kids with Legos, whatever it is. But I want to go back to what you said. The things that help us when work gets tough are really those areas that we plug into outside of work, or that fills you up. Work is tough. It is hard, so how are you fueling yourself? And if you don't have something that is your spark of joy, then you're just looking out. That's where I think a lot of burnout comes in, right? Because you're just not doing things you enjoy. And I'm not going to say throughout your entire career it's all smelling the roses, no. But during those periods where it's more of lows, how do you find your joy? And it's by, I always say it's by pouring, like taking the thoughts and looks off yourself and looking into somebody else. And for that little moment, you're plugged into something that is not just about you.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
that's what that's kind of what helps you until you get back to the mountain. The feel good times.
Yeah, there are highs and lows, and there are, like we've talked about already, sort of that seasonality in your career. And I mean, Bola, you are just incredibly impressive. I'll just say that with all that you have done. And your passion for building others up, I think, is so incredibly inspiring as well. And on this podcast, since we are geared toward that next generation leader and younger people, we really try to focus on sort of guiding that next generation as they're navigating career paths and making those strategic choices along the way. And in your book, Build Boldly, Chart Your Career, your unique career path, and Lead with Courage, you really offer this beautiful framework to that journey. And I wonder if you can kind of give us a little bit of guidance through that BOLD framework and how people might use that to forge their career paths.
Yeah. I love the word bold. The name of my book actually would have been called Bold. I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I was like, oh my God, the book is called Bold. But because I also love the built industry, and I love the word build, which is why I was like, no, you have to build boldly.
I
mean, come on, it is perfect, right? But yes, the BOLD framework. I love acronyms. I love reflecting a lot. I think you learn a lot about yourself, your path, when you reflect. When I reflected, one of the strong themes that came about was this idea of boldness. And when I went back to, okay, like, let's actually go a little bit deeper. What does it really mean to be bold? And that's where the acronym of the framework was birthed, which is, B stands for be yourself. It sounds very, very simple, but it actually isn't. A lot of us are walking around either as a facade of who we are, or like we're working around, especially in our workplaces, where we spend a lot of our time, as someone that as people that we really are not. And what do I mean by be yourself? It's thinking about integrity, right? Like, who are you with outside, outside and inside closed doors, right? Are you leading your life with integrity? Are you leading it authentically to you? Are you being kind to people? You know, like, is there respect? Is there trust? Like, think about who you are. Who is this unique person, and how are you showing up at work? How are you showing up in your life? Let's not, again, the book is a career path, but think about it overall, right? Actually sit and say, who am I? And do you like the person that is showing up every day? And if you don't, how do you start this journey to becoming more of yourself? Because what then happens is, as you sit and show up as this person, you begin to attract and find the right work environment, the right people that you should be talking to, the right opportunities, which leads me to O, that you should be taking. So O stands for open your mind to new definitions and opportunities. What have you defined as your own career path? And is this what you really should be doing? Or are there opportunities that you can open yourself up to? Are you open to learning? Are you open to plugging into a community? Maybe you weren't in the past, but maybe, this is something that you need to do to help you develop, right? And gain skills, gain understanding, gain wisdom to help you as you're figuring out your career path. And then L is lift others. I mean, that's what you ladies are doing on this podcast, right? This is your way of lifting emerging leaders, right? By finding those of us who have, somehow, some way found ourselves in some leadership position, but like you have a passion, a burden to provide and dispel, right? Like, what is leadership, right? That's really essentially what both of you are doing by doing this podcast, so that as an emerging leader is coming up and they're like, oh, I think I'm this person, and they listen to Bolanle on your podcast, they're like, oh, that's my kind of leader. She leads so authentically to her. I think I can do this, right? You have to lift others as you are at whatever phase in your journey. You have to find a way to lift others. And D is don't wait, do it now. And I say this, or, like when I was thinking about my journey at different points where I either had an inflection point or like an opportunity came my way, it was because I didn't wait. I took the opportunity. I got out of my own way. A lot of us are in our own ways, right? Like, think about, maybe there's something you want to do. Maybe you want to start a podcast. Maybe you want to take lead on a project, right? Or maybe you want to have exposure to doing certain type of work. How do you then get that? It's by not waiting. It's by going up, hopefully in an organization that encourages that, right? We do, like you said, we are very aware that not everywhere is like roses, but okay, have you tried? And if you haven't tried, like, okay, let's try and see. Don't just say, oh no, they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to hear my opinion. They're not going to give me this opportunity. Actually try, because very quickly you begin to see if you're meant to be somewhere, or if you're not, or who's your tribe or who isn't, or, it gives you more clarity. It gives you more power to be able to march forth. I say all of this is all a muscle. Boldness is a muscle. And if you're not exercising it, just like you do your exercise in real life, whatever it is, right? It's always going to seem daunting, right? So when you think about the whole framework, apply it to, yourself, your path, your life, you'll see that the journey that you're on is just so much better. It's so much fun. It's so much, you just begin to trust yourself a little bit more. You begin to know what is for you and what really isn't. And that just comes from, like, something inside of you, but you have to want it. Right. Yeah. So I always say, like, my book is not for people who don't want to like get in that driver's seat. Because when you read the book, it's going to light something within you, and you're going to be like, I'm ready to go. right? So
Yeah.
you need to really want to be ready to go as an emerging leader, or even as a seasoned leader. You need to want to see a switch, right? You
Mhm.
kind of don't want to be operating the way you've been operating so far, or if you're already operating in your in a good zone, you're ready for the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I mean, the framework, bold, to your point, you love that word. To me, it's you said it there at the end. You have to do it now. You have to try the opportunities to really understand and be able to kind of come to terms with what you are interested, what you're passionate about. And that allows you to be that authentic self more often, as you kind of try out, test different hats, go through different scenarios, et cetera. It's kind of like we started, that kind of continuous learning and always having that open mind. And understanding kind of what season in life you are, what opportunities you can take advantage of there, how you can leverage that community, and then how you can pour back in. So the BOLD framework, I think, is a great way to kind of summarize everything you've said here today.
Yes.
And your journey. And we thank you so much, Bola, for being kind of on and being able to share your insights. If you had to kind of give one last comment for an emerging leader in AEC, what would that be?
Ooh, be bold.
Be bold. There you go.
Be bold. Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for joining us and sharing your story to the next generation of leaders listening. And to our listeners, we hope today's conversation has inspired you to build a career path and move more boldly. So thank you for tuning in. And again, thank you so much, Bola, for joining us.
Oh, this was so much fun. Thank you for having me.